In our opening statement, you alluded to the fact that things seem to be coming back around in terms of racism in this country. Eric Holder, you quoted one time, talked about we have to really confront racism. And I'm paraphrasing, but how do you feel, you know, as a judge, as a black woman, with what's going on now in Ferguson, Trayvon Martin, I mean, you name it, with our president of the United States? How do you deal with the racism from where you sit?
Well, what Eric Holder was talking, I think you're referring to a speech that he gave, and what he was saying is that we needed to have a dialogue about racism. We need to talk about it,
Right.
and we don't talk about it. You know, it's very difficult to raise a conversation with some of your white friends about racism. People want to run away from it, and it needs to be talked about. But a little more than that needs to be done. Something needs to be done about it. How do I feel? I feel powerless. I feel powerless. I feel sometimes anger, a lot of times sadness. I feel overwhelmed. You know, what do you do about this situation that where seemingly young black men are targeted?
All the time.
You know, there's a certain similarity with the conflict in the former Yugoslavia. The conflict in the former Yugoslavia occurred because there were Serbs on one side, Serbia, Croatia, and in the middle was Bosnia, where Muslims live. In Serbia, and gets back to your position, Serbia, they're Christians, but they don't recognize the Virgin Mary. Their priests, they don't take a vow of celibacy. Croats are Roman Catholics, and then the Muslims are very different. And the conflict, to a certain extent, with Muslims, with the Serbs and the Croats coming together to fight over the country in between, is due to something that happened in the 1300s, where the Ottoman Empire defeated Serbia. And so there have been constant conflicts, and they have not been addressed. So these old wounds never close. They never close. And generation after generation recalls what happened to their uncle by a Serb, or what happened to their uncle by a Croat, or what the Muslims did in the 1300s. Well, here in the United States, there's a lot of that. There's the legacy of slavery. You try to talk sometimes to people about that, and they don't get it, or they don't want to get it. They say, get over it. That didn't happen in the 13th century, happened in a more recent time. And they don't understand how there's a intergenerational impact. And so there has to be a dialogue, of course, but there has to be a acknowledgement of what has occurred and a commitment to repair that. I didn't use reparations, but whatever is necessary. Because people say it's not because of race, it's because of something else. Somehow they are just intrinsically unworthy. And it's sad.
It's very sad.
It's sad, but I don't know. I'm now retired.
Right.
But I still have this boiling inside of me.
And I'm the mother of two sons.
Do something, you know.
So what have you not done that you hoped you would do in life? I mean, you've certainly accomplished a lot. There are highlights. Is there anything that you wish you could do that you haven't done?
Well, it's something that I continue to do, and that is, and it's not done, and that is to improve opportunities for Black Americans, primarily in the field of law, because that's something that I can chew on, so to speak. You know, when you look at Ferguson, and Ferguson is just a metaphor, as someone said on TV, for everything that's happening throughout the United States. When I when I was at the Yugoslav Tribunal, at the War Crimes Tribunal, I began what we called a project on African Americans in international law. And the reason was that I entered international law after being a civil rights lawyer for a long time and as a federal judge, but I didn't see people who looked like me around me. And there were white people who even said it. The dean of a law school, a very prestigious law school, came to the Netherlands and said, "I'm so happy to see you." He's a white man. And he said, "You know, because everyone in international law looks like me, a man, white, with gray hair." So I started this project on African Americans in international law to introduce international law to young black Americans in law school. We didn't get very far, in part because I was pretty busy there.
Yeah.
But then this year in April, I was elected honorary president of the American Society of International Law.
Wow.
And it's what it says it is. And at the meeting, when they announced the results, you know, we stand up and we think, and well, honorary, you know what honorary means. Honorary means you're old and you're supposed to just sit back and smile and say thank you. Well, I stood up and said, and told most of those in attendance about my efforts 20 years before with the Project on African Americans in International Law. And I said, I didn't get very far because I look around the American Society of International Law and I see very few African Americans. So I would like to take this on as my project for my 2-year term as an honorary president, and I will be calling upon each of you to help me. Well,
how did they respond?
It's interesting because no honorary president, and this organization has been around for over 100 years, had never done anything more than smile and say thank you for this position in my old age. You know, I can just sit and add it to whatever you want to add when you get old and you don't need anything more. I don't know, but anyway. But again, a number of things came together in people. And you asked about faith?
Yes.
And I don't know the reverends here. I don't know how to, I think, and I don't think, I believe that God's in each of us. And many of the opportunities, I would say all of the opportunities I've had have been because of people who have entered my life. You talked about Lloyd Benson,
Yes.
Conrad Harper, any other number of people. And I believe that that's God acting through them. You know, I told someone once, and I had never heard this before, but I believe that just as Mark and I created our kids, Michael and Stacy, they have within them, within their DNA really, us.
Yes.
And I view it really the same way. So back to the ASIL, American Society of International Law. The outgoing president, I knew, he's a partner with a major law firm. He was very, very, very supportive. He said, this is a great thing. And the incoming president has now taken it on and has agreed to appoint a task force. And that task force will go forward and hopefully accomplish something. And what we need to accomplish is to bring in young black people.
Yeah.
Go to the law schools, let them know that there's a reason to study international law, that you can do more than just study it.
Right.
You can make a living doing it.
Exactly.
And they don't believe that you can make a living doing it because they don't see anyone like them, or very few.
Right.
So to answer your question about what I want to do, that's my latest
How do you
project. But
define
it's not even a project, it's something inside of me.
It's a life work. How do you define success? Our last question for the day.
Oh my. I've been successful. And I've been successful, I think, because I was fortunate enough, you know, when you're retired, you're forcing me to think about things that, first of all, I chose a path that I was passionate about. I truly was. I mean, even at Howard, they called me Miss NAACP, you know, and that's something. So I was passionate about it because of a lot of experiences that I had before I got there. So choose what you're passionate about, but then do it well. And do it well even when it's not fun. You know, there's a lot of drudgery to stuff.
Yes.
Just do it well. And then have faith that you're on the right path, and hope that you have people who come into your life who can take you and kind of push you as a vehicle to accomplish something. So it's really doing something that you find gratifying and doing it well. And that you're successful.
What would you say to Michael Brown's mother? What would you say to her and the other mothers who are crying right now?
I don't know. I think I'd hug them first and cry with them, and tell them, I know what you. Well, no, I wouldn't tell them I know what you feel. I'd tell them that, as hard as it may seem, if I was very courageous, there's a reason for things, and that perhaps out of the loss of your son will come a better life for us all. And that can't replace your son, but it can bring a lot of goodness to other people who are like your son. I don't know. I'd hug them and probably cry with them.
Well, we want to hug you and thank you for blazing the trails, for being the woman that you have. Look at her. Look after you. Thank you so much. Won't you join me in thanking Judge Gabrielle Kirk McDonald. Fascinating.